Hello and welcome to somewhere very close to the old shop just down the lane. I'm just walking onto the Heath and actually I'm pretending that I'm walking up a hill because the way into the Heath is full of ups and downs, and I'm going down at the moment, and I wanted to use that to introduce you to my new candle that I'm in the middle of producing at the moment. So I'm just going to have a little bit of footage of that just to show you what I'm doing, because it's taking up a lot of my creative thought at the moment, as not to mention time and practical stuff. So there we are, look, this is the hill up ahead of us. And the other thing is I really wanted to share with you what happened on the spring equinox, 20th of March, when I managed to get up in time for the sunrise over the sea. And I think because of the Saharan dust, I've been told, it made the most spectacular effect. It's a beautiful morning, and I have been working in the front garden the last 2 or 3 days, so I thought I'd show you what I've been doing, because I must be honest and say this is an easy win in this is such a tiny space, but it was a real mess. So, well, I say a mess, I'd purposely left all the seed heads over the winter and just tall stems, which I actually saw goldfinches on not long ago. So it's not that it was a mess, but it was time. The time has come. Now it's mid-March to start to clear the space and allow the new growth to happen, like this ice plant here, which had all its old stems above it, but now I've cut them off. It's got a chance to breathe and to start to do its thing. And there are some tulips as well. This will come up from last year. I don't know whether they will flower, but I hope they will. And this is a little hazel tree, and it is just such a heartening thing to see a baby tree with baby leaves. I don't know if you can actually see, it's blurry, isn't it? Let's see if I can get that into focus. Yeah, more or less. And so yes, we'll just have a quick whiz round. I don't know which way round to go. I usually go this way round, I think. Let's do that. And so the roses are putting out some lovely new leaves. Beautiful. And wherever I see some things, I tend to can't have everything that seeds itself, but I always make room for aqualegias, which are these very vivid leaves you can see here, and they will have the most beautiful flowers in May, and you just never know what colours they're going to come out. They all come out differently, which they're some of my favourite flowers. I can't say exactly which are, but they are definitely contenders. And there's the willow, which is still alive. What else can we look at, apart from, of course, the guardian frog and the fairy garden guardian are still at their posts. The garden guardian has told me he's quite happy to be known as the sprite's child as well. Can you hear the geese over there? They obviously like the sound of that. And anyway, let's continue. I might get some more of these shells. I don't know whether you remember, I put these cockle shells to fill the gaps between the stones. I wasn't quite sure how to deal with those. They've got very mixed up with the wood chip, but I don't know whether to just let that happen and let the plants grow over naturally, or whether perhaps to get some more shells this year, just another bag of them or something like that. And then this other rose is also putting out some lovely new growth. That's called Emily Bronte. And there's some more of the Aqualegia columbines. And well, I don't necessarily think you want to see everything. This little tree is looking quite happy. You can see some buds here, and that's a wayfaring tree. The trellis is just starting to look a little bit more clothed, which I really want it to do. And I don't know whether to perhaps get some other climbers going up there, something that has a bit more screening. I'm not sure. There's ivy on the wall behind, but I don't necessarily want the ivy to smother everything else on the trellis. We'll see. It's early days really for this season. And here's the pond, and this was really choked. Anything in a position like this under the hedge here, you see there's the holly hedge, and there's the hawthorn, which you can see all those little twigs sticking up. That's the hawthorn tree the sparrows love to land in. I'm hopeful for the pond this year. I've cleared out a lot of leaves and debris from it, which isn't surprising. I've had to do that. and the water's looking fairly clear. I might try and get some more frog bit or other pondweed that's oxygenating. But for now, I'm really pleased. Even since I did this a few days ago, I can start to see the growth. The water mint is coming back, and I think that's the water forget-me-not as well. And even where I cut down those, I'm not sure whether it's, I can't remember now, whether it's an iris rather than reeds just there. But you can even see growth coming out from the top of the cuts there. And these are Alpine Strawberries, which I put around the edge because they are quite happy with shade, and they don't, and damp. And that's not, well, it's not necessarily that damp there, but it's certainly shady. And that's why I put in some geraniums, because they're really adaptable to anything, really. They'll scramble. In fact, if anything, if they're too happy, they'll take over. So I've put them somewhere which is a little bit challenging, and see how they get on. And this is a big poppy. I don't know whether that will like it there, but I couldn't resist the plant when I saw it, when it was flowering last summer. And the hellebores, which are always a joy. And this is their time. And another contender for an absolute favourite. There's some more in the back garden, but I'm not feeling quite brave enough yet to show you the back garden in any detail. But I'll do a bit more work out there, and then there might be something to show. But some of the hellebores are here as well, and they're lovely wherever they are. And some of these were here when I moved in. They're some of probably the only plants that are still here from then, so they're quite special. I'll show you can hear the increase in bird song as well. The sparrows are usually around, whizzing from one place to another. And I'm trying to keep the bird bath topped up as well, because it hasn't rained all that much at all, actually. We had some funny rain yesterday, which was that Saharan dust rain, and I had to drive, and I had the windscreen wipers going, and what the water it was pushing off was a kind of yellowy brown colour. It was quite bizarre. And I'll just show you again, I know we've seen this before, but if you're new, and as a recap as well for this new season, this stone here is from the Stiper Stones in Shropshire, a place called the Devil's Chair, and it's a beautiful stone. I lugged that back, years and years ago. It's a very special trip, and it's very resonant of that time and that a beautiful trip that we went on. The other stone I have guards the other side of the pathway. It's a stone from I think it's actually from Kynance Cove, but certainly the Lizard in Cornwall. And again, memories of very special times. And it's a big piece of serpentine. It doesn't look any particular colour now, but when it's wet, it's got a real reddish kind of presence. And I call it the Dragonstone, which is quite appropriate here because this house is quite dragon orientated somehow, I think. Oh yes, I forgot to show you these stones here. They came from Cornwall as well, many years ago now. Lovely flat stones, and at our old home, when my husband was still alive, I had them in the front there in a special little place, and piled them up like this as a little fairy altar. I don't know whether you remember last summer at the old shop in the front garden, if you were following along then, but the front garden became a really unexpectedly abundant place. It's only a really tiny garden, but the plants that I'd put in the spring before and I'd neglected, and I'd left them in their pots for too long, and some of them looked very sorry for themselves. But last summer they really came good, and there was abundance. So that's really something to look forward to, and you can see the signs around even now. But yeah, it's lovely to look back at those pictures from last year and remember that summer days will be here again. And it really won't be too long now before everything starts to bloom and blossom and grow, and the garden guardian will have more to look after. So really looking forward to that. thought it might be good to have an update on the 3 ponds. We covered those last year when they were first planted up. So here's the first one, and this was always the most problematic pond, even though it was the first one. And this is the one that was made in the wash house copper that was actually here at the old shop and was rescued from the builders. So it was always quite a special one to me. It's not in the easiest spot, I don't think, really, because it's got the holly hedge right next to it here, so holly leaves fall in and other leaves blow in as well. So I had to be quite careful to pull all the leaves out this spring. And also last year it didn't really take very well because the water all went cloudy and almost oily looking. This spring it's looking a lot happier than it did last spring, I would say. And I've pulled out all the rotting vegetation and stems and things. And since I did that, the water mint, which is this here, has already really come on. It smells beautifully minty. And where I cut back these, I don't actually know what that is. It probably looks rather like iris leaves. I'm guessing it's an iris. I've forgotten what things were. But you can see how where I've cut it, it's growing again out from the cut edges, which is very heartening. There's not much else going on. I think that's going to be the water forget-me-not just down there at the foot of the iris. But other things, there are reeds at the back and they don't seem to be there, although I'm not sure whether it takes a little bit longer in the season before they start, so I'm not going to panic yet or try and replace anything yet. The main thing is it's looking after itself a lot better than it was. It's clearer, the water's clearing itself because the pond weed hasn't died, and so I'm really pleased about that. And where I've put the stones so that small creatures can get out if they fall in, I think that's all looking fine. So yeah, that's lovely for the first one. So I'll just show you the other 2. Now this was the second wildlife pond I made, and this is also a very deep pond made in an old wash house copper. This one seems to be in a spot that suits it really well, and it's never had any problems. It's cleared really quickly with the weeds in it to start with, the oxygenating plants. And you can see here that that's a Marsh Marigold, this leaf here. It's not very close to flowering, but the leaves look really happy and healthy. They've come back. I saw a Marsh Marigold in flower in a little kind of stream ditch place earlier today. So in the wild they're actually flowering already, but it's a bit different in the garden pond, I guess. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And you can see here as well there are other plants that are starting to grow again. There's some different kinds as well. Again, I don't remember what they are, but I don't mind that. It's a more water mint, I can see that. And the others will just reveal themselves as the season comes on. I'm really happy with this one. This one has really worked nicely. There's still no Frogspawn or frogs or any kind of obvious activity in the ponds. I don't know whether it's okay to bring Frogspawn in from other places, but you'd probably read somewhere you shouldn't, because the frogs know where they come from, but I'm not sure. But I'd love to get some Frogspawn to put in here, and then this would become their new home. I'm not sure if that would be okay or not. I have to look into it. So let's go and have a look at the last one, the most recent one I made. This is the most recent pond. It's very, very different from the other 2. It might look very similar in a way. It's similar diameter, maybe a little less so, but it's very, very, very shallow because it's just an old enamel bowl. But it seems to work well. It's managed to keep itself really clear. There are some plants, I'm not sure whether they're going to survive or not. I can't see any new growth yet, but it's early. It's only March still. It's just so beautiful, the weather, that it feels as if everything should be doing what it's going to do, but it may not be time for it yet. There's a little, what's that little plant? Is that a tadpole? Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? It's something, I'm not sure. Maybe they're probably mosquito larvae. I'm not sure. There's something alive in there anyway. No, they're not tadpoles. I'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens, and if necessary I'll get perhaps one more plant to fill in where that gap is there, because it could do with being full of plants that will help to keep it oxygenated as well. and perhaps next year there'll be some Frogspawn in there. You never know. That would be absolutely wonderful. That would be such an amazing thing. I thought we could come back again and have another look when things move on a little bit. It's early days yet. We have some beautiful late March days, but it is still March and there's plenty of time for things to happen. So we'll have another look, and more plants will be growing all around the pond, of course, as well. So it won't look quite so stark as it does at the moment, but that's all to come. The final update on my pond update is that I've actually got some Frogspawn. This afternoon I was very busy and I shouldn't really have been giving time to go and looking for Frogspawn, but it's one of those things I just couldn't stop thinking about, and really wanting frogs in the garden. And I had this thought about where I might find some, and I went and had a little walk and had a little look, and lo and behold there was some. So I don't know if you can see, I've put some in just there. It already looks quite at home. It's only been in there for about 10 minutes. I'm really excited about this. I don't know whether they'll all, there it is, look. I don't know whether any of them or all of them will hatch, but it's just so exciting. This is the pond in the front garden, and I've only put a little bit of Frogspawn in here, not enough to actually see, but I wanted to make sure I brought you to all three of the ponds, because I'm still not really sure about the health of this one, and I didn't want to put the tadpoles under stress if they hatch out. So we'll see. If they do, then that's great, and if they don't, the other two ponds are probably a nicer place for them to be. I'm hoping to get some more oxygenating weeds for this pond, and then maybe if there are tadpoles in the other pond, I might kind of give a few of them a chance in here. It's really hard to know what's fairest and best for the tadpoles, but I'm going to be so loving to them that I hope they won't mind coming here.